Okay, so they just announced the new DLC and the 1.6 update for RimWorld, and it looks absolutely incredible and insane. It also seems like they may have just made the Save Our Ship mod vanilla RimWorld, vanilla RimWorld feature. Sorry, I'm extremely excited. It literally just released. We have a lot to talk about. Let's just go ahead, not waste any time, and jump right in. Okay, so right off the bat here, we have the announcement: build a flying base, explore exotic biomes, tame unique animals, and launch into orbit. Incredible, absolutely incredible. So listen, I know we all love Save Our Ship. Kudos to everyone that's ever worked on Save Our Ship, the mod, the creator, everything and everyone, right? It is wonderful, but I think I speak for a large portion of the community when I say that being able to go into orbit and stuff and continuing with the ship just seems like something that should or would be in base RimWorld. And it looks like that's what we're finally getting here now. So it's enriching the world. We're basically getting more to the world and our adventures on the world. So we can travel beyond a single map. Of course, we could settle multiple settlements and stuff like that, but you would have to walk to do so. In this, you can build a grav ship, which is going to be a flying home, basically a flying base from what I understand, where you can use it to travel across the planet to find these new biomes filled with new different types of wildlife and landforms, so like landmarks and stuff like that. Alpha thrombos. You can raid ancient cryosleep bunkers, which sounds kind of like an ancient danger, sort of, but maybe its own specific thing. And launch into orbit and scavenge tech from space stations and asteroids. But out in the void, an ancient machine minesters. What this sounds like, not only are we getting basically a base game version of Save Our Ship, we are also getting some information or lore or just something added on to the Arco text. I haven't read the entire thing, but that's what it seems like. So they also say this is releasing in 1 month's time, so that would be 1 month from today, July 11th. And then we actually get a photo for reference here of a grav ship, which looks very, very similar, of course, to Save Our Ship too, but I mean, it is RimWorld, of course. This is kind of the style that I think we would all expect. Based on the description here, it says, travel across the planet and stuff. It looks like when you start out with a smaller ship, you would most likely only be able to do maybe like a low orbit or within atmosphere travel. Not really sure on that, but more on that in just a second. I do want to say that I already have some plans for this. It's really cool. Say, for example, you maybe go through the royalty quest lines and everything, and you make your way to the top as a Stellark. This could be your own personal ship, right? Stuff like that. It's just, it's so cool to see. All right, so touching on the ship and traveling around the planet, it does say to expand your ship and to go further, you'll need to collect grav cores. These can be found in a few different locations, looks like. They're glitter tech devices from insect-infested caverns and places like that. Crash-landed shipwrecks, which is really cool. Orbital platforms. It's just, it's so much. It's so awesome that they're adding all this. But it appears that you will need to upgrade the ship to be able to go further, maybe outside of the atmosphere of the planet or just outside of its orbit and that kind of thing, maybe to beat the game now, which is very interesting. And so they also give us an example here with this image of a colony. It seems like on an island with the ship in the middle, which is really cool looking. And they actually give some examples of maybe playing as like a nomad colony where you use the ship to travel to several different locations, which is an incredible idea. I'm sure somebody's going to do that right off the bat. Probably won't be me, but that's a really cool way to go about playing, where you can just travel all around the world. And they also talk about just different ways to play there with the Odyssey DLC as well. It also looks like we're getting some new biomes, so they give us some examples here. So a glow forest with bioluminescent mushrooms, psychedelic spores. That's very interesting. We have Scarlands, war-torn remains of a once thriving city. Chef's kiss. Craters ruptured and roads. Oh yeah, that fits really well with a lot of the ancient stuff that we see around the planets already. Grasslands are a ranching cowpoke's dream. Absolutely perfect for any Western playthroughs, of course. The glacial plains, they feel prehistoric. Blizzards smoother. I'm sorry, I'm so excited. Blizzards smother the land, herds of mastodons roam. Oh my god, this is really cool. So they're talking about some of the new the new wildlife too, and I just can't get enough. Lava fields, so they constantly change. Rivers of molten rock flow across the land in sudden bursts, swallowing up animals, buildings, and colonists alike. That's going to be a really cool biome, I think, for people to play in, especially if they actually change while you're there, which, if we scroll down a little bit, oh, that looks incredible. It seems like they probably will, based on this, the rivers of lava. We can see the stone chunks in them, so it kind of goes with the idea that they're probably actually changing as you're playing, which is incredible. This looks like some type of molten meteorite, not meteorite, but coming from a volcano, a big chunk of rock being spewed. Insane. Let's see, new landmarks. System combines with these biomes to create endless landscape variation, more variation. We love to see that. It makes it just more realistic and more fun, of course, at least in my opinion. We're seeing some cliffs and chasms and crevices and valleys and islands. Oh man, peninsulas, fjords. Abandoned colonies, which is really interesting. Repurpose them for your own base. That's something really cool, because we see a lot of the ruins and stuff like that, but never any actual abandoned cities and colonies and things. Ancient structures, so we can get the chem fuel and stuff. It's more like the, what's it called? The ancient, I forget the site, the ancient places you can actually go to, and they're kind of like large factories, is what they seem like. So that's really cool. They're adding more to that as well, it seems. All right, and then so we have surviving beyond the atmosphere. So of course, as we could kind of infer there, we will be leaving the atmosphere. So in space, it looks like you'll be landing on wrecked orbital platforms, and you can explore derelict satellites. Apologies for my pronunciation there. And mine ore-rich asteroids. So all this extremely similar to Save Our Ship. Credit where it is due, in my opinion. Those people that work on that mod are just amazing and stuff, and you know, I don't know if the teams came together, whatever. Obviously this is extremely similar, so I want to give respect and credit where it's due to them as well, because they've been taking care of us with this kind of thing for years and years, okay? Before this was ever a thing, which it looks like it's going to be very soon, they've been giving us a mod that gives us this wonderful experience already. So, you know, credit where it's due. Anyhow, though, with this, it looks like you can also be fighting space scavengers, as well as mechanoids. Of course, there's going to be mechanoids. But yes, apparently it just appears to be, you know, it's space, right? So we're just getting a semi-vanilla, I know it's coming through a DLC, but base game, it's not exactly base game, yada yada. You know what I'm talking about, though, from the actual studio version where you can go to space and stuff. So basically, no oxygen, sub-zero temperatures, everything that we're kind of used to if you've ever played the Save Our Ship mod. I mean, it's basically just like that. It's space, right? I mean, that's what it is. But amazing that they finally added this. It looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And I can even see a little tiger here. Look at that, one of the wildlife. That's really cool that you can you can kind of get a little preview there. I think that's actually what we're going to be talking about now as well. Cute, terrifying, and intelligent wildlife. 40 new animals that can be tamed, trained, traded, and eaten, of course, as you might imagine. It also appears like we're going to have some new different types of training. So there are, let's see, start your game in the grasslands with a single crow. So crows are definitely getting added, small birds, stuff like that. I'm not sure if it's all of them, but crows for sure. They're tiny birds. And you can have them that steal your crops. It looks like there's the different training, though, for dogs and cats and things like that that can actually nuzzle colonists more often. Wolves and big cats hunt down specific targets for you, which is incredible. That's something that's really cool. It's some advanced training, of course. And then, of course, so there's some different abilities with some of them. So it looks like the Mastodon is going to have a deafening trumpet that rattles enemies and throws off their aim. That's really cool. It's almost kind of, at least what it seems like, a fear factor, maybe, to kind of, you know, decrease that stat, causing them to not be able to shoot and stuff, you know, accurately. Alpha Thrumbo's roar is said to have sent attackers fleeing before the first shot is fired. Amazing. Just, it's so cool. That's amazing that they've added some advanced training and also some abilities to some of these new creatures. I do see these shuttles here, so I don't know if this is going to, I'm sure we'll find out in a second. I don't know if this is an upgrade or I'm sorry, not an upgrade, but like a rework of the current shuttles or what, but they do look a bit different, of course. So it also looks like we have new quests with different areas. So of course we have the Alpha Thrumbo that's been mentioned. You can follow its herd across the wilderness, which is really cool. So it would be leading a herd of Thrumbos. We have the Ancient Mercenary Crypts, where we have some ancient mercs who are guarding some treasure and Glitter World supplies. They have a gang leader who owns a valuable weapon, which is really, really cool that there's going to be something like that where you can kill him and you even get a great weapon from it. Like specifically, there's a guarantee of getting a good weapon, or at least a, I guess, kind of a valuable one. Of course, we have the orbital platforms and satellites. It looks like there can be fugitives on board those in the wreckage, most likely in cryo-sleep caskets as well, with turrets and traps and also mechanoids. The asteroid mines, which are going to have plasteel, uranium, gold, stuff like that. Just about what you would probably expect. Vulnerable to pirates, so of course you're going to be getting attacked most likely while doing so. Then, it also appears that we have some new weapons, traps, and enemies. So they mention in this a sawed-off shotgun, an AI-assisted rifle scope. So I don't know if that's going to be just a specific weapon or something that you can actually attach to different rifles, which is still really cool though. It makes the worst shooter accurate, so similar to a gun link, I suppose, except just really, really good. A golden revolver, just for shits and giggles, for looks, of course. A status symbol, I would guess. And then it talks about some new gear. So we have hunter drones, which chase targets. I'm not exactly sure if that's referring to an insectoid. I think it is because wasp drones jab their prey, so it looks like we're getting some new insectoids. A Cyclops mechanoid that barrages enemies with shield-piercing gamma beams. Jesus, that's awesome. And so there are insect hives in the ground like this, which are similar looking to pit gates, it would seem, where they actually have a queen, which is really cool. I have a feeling you're going to be able to enter and attack those just like you would a pit gate from Anomaly. And so with this as well, we have a machine hive mind. So it says, far above the planet, the mech hive pulses with hate. Its mechanoids reproduce endlessly, and they will never stop attacking until every human on the planet is dead. When you reach the inhuman mind behind this terror. So it looks like we'll actually be able to go into space to take out the mechanoid hive mind, okay? So all the mechs, I'm assuming, will stop after that, but let's continue here. So you face a choice: will you destroy it and shut it down, shut down every mechanoid for good, or take control of its power? So, okay, yeah. So we would have the option, similar to Anomaly, how we could take control of the actual Anomaly, I believe, or you could shut it off. I might be wrong, but it was like the in-game thing for Anomaly. It looks like, I'm not saying this is going to be in-game for Odyssey, but it looks like you'll have that same option where you could shut down the hive mind, or you can actually take control of it, which is really cool. I would think that that would be a planet-conquering power, right? Along with other things that you would be able to do in RimWorld. So that looks to be all they've announced so far for the DLC. We are kind of jumping into the 1.6 update and what that is going to be adding as well. So if for whatever reason you can't get the DLC, maybe you don't want the DLC right now, we do have the 1.6 update that is coming regardless, that anyone can get, of course, as long as you own RimWorld already. So one of the first things here that's really important and I feel is going to be great is just some performance improvements. It talks about basically the performance and pathfinding and stuff of especially late game colonies, which I think everybody runs into. You end up with a huge colony, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving people, most of all, and pathfinding seems to really slow stuff down. So I'm glad that they're kind of taking a look at that and trying to, you know, improve the performance of that specifically, because I think that is just a universal issue for anyone who plays RimWorld and kind of has to deal with that once you get towards the end of your colony. So some other really cool stuff here is better planning for colonies. So as you can see, it looks like we are going to have the option for shrinking and expanding plans, of course, but we can also go about, which I think might just be, you know, removing and what have you, but also you can do color coding, which is what I'm more focused on here, and you can also copy and paste and rotate, which is great. Give them names, stuff like that, color coding. That's going to help out a lot. I know there's mods for that. I never use them. I should, but it looks like I won't have to worry about it anymore at all, and neither will you, of course. So that's really cool, and that's going to be just, it helps out, I'm sure, a ton, because I know whenever I'm planning stuff out, especially right now in our Fallout series, which all the mods are going to get creamed, but the mod list, I should say, it really helps out, because in that, I'm trying to plan things out, and then I'm like, oh, is this where I want the vault wall, or is it, so that's going to help out a lot. I'm just going to kind of touch on the rest of this for 1.6 briefly, because I kind of want to touch more on the DLC, but it looks like you'll also be able to pitch temporary camps for caravans, which is great. We also have that through mods, of course, but that's just going to be so useful. They've also made it easier. It looks like you can place blueprints over certain buildings to swap materials or upgrade them. So like walls, doors, stuff like that. If you have one that's wood, you can now, I believe, based on what this is saying, put a wooden door. You could swap it out for a stone door by placing it over it instead of deconstructing it first. As somebody who records construction a lot, I think that that's going to be really great, because I always hate having to tamper with it as I'm just trying to record a clip. It makes it a little bit easier. It looks like they've made the search bar better for finding items and stuff like that, which is useful. And they've also added it to the save and load menu. That way, if you have any save files that you'd like to look for, that helps me a lot as well, since I do a lot of different series, and sometimes I have to return to those series. They've also reworked how the map features behave to make the world feel more organic and varied, which is good. Any type of randomized generation and stuff like that, so it looks like larger rivers even form canyons. Oh, it's just great. A bit more realistic, more realism, right? It also looks like, so we have some interesting stuff here with flying animals, and we can see an example here of a flying goose or some flying geese. So it looks like chickens, ducks, and geese can now fly. Flying makes them faster, lets them soar over obstacles like fences, and means they can land or leave from just about anywhere. So that's really cool. I am curious if they can fly over walls. I guess we'll see. Scaria, the disease that turns animals into infected creatures who are always hunting you down, has been reworked. They will have a mangy red and covered in sores look to them. You don't want to get close, because wounds from Scaria infected creatures can cause Scaria infection. So it looks like, yes, 100% humans can also get it, which is a really cool addition, because it's kind of like rabies now, I suppose. It would also appear they made some changes to the rooms, so it says colonists are happy with mediocre bedrooms, which is good, and they're less upset by awful ones. Medical beds contribute less towards a room becoming a hospital, and it gives an example about barracks all becoming a hospital simply when there, I believe, is a bed reserved for medical care, and they're just the one. So stuff like that's good. It's going to affect moods, and I would think contribute less towards mental breaks. We also have some stuff here about armor and weapons being rebalanced, so some combat gear has some changes. For example, they state flak jackets and pants offer better sharp protection, which would make sense, I would think, since they are supposed to be somewhat bulletproof, not exactly, but you know what I mean. While flak vests no longer cover the shoulders, as you would expect. With there only being straps, they wouldn't really cover shoulders, they would just hang from them. Some ranged weapons are deadlier, so sniper rifles fire faster and hit more often. Charge lances reach further. Revolvers and miniguns are more accurate, which is really cool. Miniguns always felt extremely inaccurate in my opinion, so it'll be nice to see how they've changed. Peelers hit harder and faster. Charge rifles deal more damage and reach further. LMGs shoot faster with a small damage boost, so that's really cool too. We also have a jump to UI improvement on the world map. Shows your colonist caravans and quest locations, so it's good that they're adding some just quality of life stuff like that. You can rename bills and use the new make default button for policies, so that's cool as well. There's a lot of other minor convenient UI improvements that they mentioned. They don't really go into too many more details, which is fine. We also have water being more beautiful. It reflects the sky and ripples when walked through. I always love rivers in RimWorld, so it'll be nice to see them with a better quality like that as well. They just say tons of quality of life changes. Quest joiners now show their best skill before you accept them. Holy shit, that's great. I always hated that you couldn't see anything. I always hated that you couldn't see anything like that. It looks like, what else here? Colonists always prioritize burying people in sarcophagi over graves. Another small quality of life. I mean, that's great. Because obviously you wouldn't build a sarcophagus if you just wanted them to put them in the grave anyway. If you had like, there could be different situations, but you know what I mean. They won't burn your medical supplies by default if you have a burn drugs bill. They also move items out of the way before building doors, which, oh god, another great quality of life improvement. I always hate when there's like some stone blocks lying there holding a door open. Steam geysers are easier to spot when placing a geothermal generator, also great. It looks like they have a bunch of other small things that are coming. I know that they said they plan on talking more about all of this in the weeks to come before the actual release of the DLC and the 1.6 update. So, yeah, a lot there. There's a lot going on. They've added quite a bit. I mean, some really major stuff, especially here with the grav ships and stuff and being able to go into orbit around the planet. Again, major respect to Save Our Ship, the people who worked on that, the people who created that. Can't stress that enough because, this is great. It really is great that they've added this with the DLC, but up until that point, and I would suppose even if you don't have this DLC, I don't know how it's all going to work out, but you might still be able to use Save Our Ship, which would still give you that option. So major respect to them, mad props to them, right? But it is also cool seeing all this in a vanilla RimWorld, even through a DLC. So not exactly vanilla, but vanilla, you know what I'm saying. Really hyped to see what other announcements they make. I'm sure you guys are tickled plum pink like myself, or at least I hope you are. This is pretty incredible. I think that this is going to soar and blow past anything that Anomaly added. Already based on what we're seeing here, it looks like it is, and I think that this is going to be one of the better DLCs when we look back on it in the future. Is it going to be the greatest? Probably not in terms of what we have seen, but it is going to be a very good DLC based on what we're seeing here with this announcement. Thank you all ever so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I apologize. This is kind of an impromptu thing. I just wanted to discuss with you guys as soon as I seen it. I hope that's I hope that you're not all upset with me. I know this isn't my usual thing, but thank you all for watching. I love you. See you later.